Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. It is Monday, March the 14th, 2021, and it is Black Press Week on this March the 14th, 2021. And we'll get more into that as the week goes on. Kim Kardashian is getting a lot of heat from social media and other forums after what many said was a tone-deaf comment she made that she timed for release during Women's History Month. We will bring you her controversial remarks and the swift reaction in a moment. But first, let's bring on from the Baltimore Times, Paris Brown, and from the Washington Informer, our correspondent, James Wright. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you both, as always, as we tackle the news topics this morning. First up, former President Barack Obama announced on Sunday that he tested positive for COVID-19. He said, "I just tested positive for COVID. I've had a scratchy throat for a couple of days, but am feeling fine otherwise." He says, "Michelle and I are grateful to be vaccinated and boosted, and she has tested negative. It's a reminder to get vaccinated if you haven't already, even as cases go down," Obama said. He recently returned to Washington, D.C. after spending much of the winter in Hawaii. Obama tested positive in D.C., according to various reports. In a 2018 Pew Research Center survey, 1 in 5 adults gave Obama the most favorable ratings of any U.S. president. So, James in Paris, President Obama says he's doing well because he's been vaccinated. Very popular because the comments on social media were amazing. I'm sure that he saw at least some of them and took it to heart.
Mm-hmm. And his message is just saying, yes, get vaccinated, because the truth of the matter is 30% of people who are vaccinated, and my cousin was one, still died, although she had underlying conditions. So the message of continuing to be vaccinated is important, because 70% of people who are vaccinated live, but there are a percentage, and it's very important to know that are dying and they're vaccinated. So we still need to exercise some caution. The social distance, it's not totally over. So it's lingering on, but thank goodness the numbers are going down. So his emphasis of that message, and of course he has a very positive rating. So hopefully that messaging will have an impact, and I'm sure it will.
Yeah, absolutely. Also in the news this morning, on May 10th, 2021, the National Newspaper Publishers Association and the PGA Tour entered into a historic partnership. The union promised to reflect the commitment between the two organizations, both sharing the objective of amplifying the game of golf in the African American community in a way that inspires most interest, participation, and engagement. That objective included promoting jobs, careers, and economic opportunities in the golf industry at large, options many in communities of color either are unaware of or mistakenly believe are unachievable. On the eve of the anniversary of the agreement between the PGA Tour and the Black Press of America, Commissioner Jay Monahan invited NNPA President and CEO Dr. Benjamin Chavis and NNPA staff to the Players Championship in Ponte Vedra, Florida. The get-together took place inside the hallowed halls of TPC Sawgrass's stately Mediterranean-style clubhouse, where Monahan also spoke with NNPA Newswire about the progress made before and since the partnership. He says, "We take enormous pride in the fact that we have a partnership. We've opened ourselves up to try and be as transparent about where we are and where we're going. As a result, we can have a conversation with NNPA, and a conversation that's happening regularly." So James and Paris, this relationship is really in full steam as the Black Press tries to bring information about the game of golf to the African American community. I think, James, you swing a little bit.
Well, actually, it's funny. Before this pandemic started, I would get invitations to golf tournaments around DC. And it's not because I'm active in the golf circuit, it's because I'm fairly active when it comes to the business community. As many people have noted in the past, a lot of business decisions are made on the golf course. Now, I don't know how true that is today as it was maybe about 20 or 30 years ago, but one thing is clear: golf is no longer a white man's game. As a matter of fact, and let me stress the last part of my statement, man's game. women are really getting into golf and doing very well in golf. So I think this is an excellent development that NNPA has developed a relationship with the PGA. This golf is only going to become only more popular in the Black community, and this is a great first step.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paris.
And I agree. And let me tell you, I swing a little bit too. So I belong, it's been a minute, but I belong to a women's golf club here in Baltimore. So it's been a minute, but I do swing a little, just to let you know. And I agree with James. It's a first step. When you look at that, it's an $84 billion industry and their charitable contributions are like $4 billion. I think it's a great step for us. I'm looking forward to more involvement and increasing involvement even among the youth. I think I read an article. There was a Georgia championship, and I think it was Drew High School, and they were there, and they said there was no one that looked like us. So I think it's a great beginning. We have a long way to go, and this is the start.
Yeah, it's a theme throughout. The commissioner made that point of saying there's a long way to go, and also golfer Joseph Bramlett, who is one of just 4 Black players on the PGA Tour so far this year, also made that point that there's great strides have been made, but we still have a long way to go. And that's why the Black press has entered into the picture, because this game offers a lot of opportunities, not just on the golf course, but outside of the or off the course. And so we certainly want our viewers, our listeners, our readers to take advantage of those great opportunities in that game. Also in the news this morning, comedian Cat Williams ended his show in Nashville, Tennessee early Saturday night because of a bomb threat, according to a statement from the Nashville Municipal Auditorium where Cat was performing. He had to abruptly end the show 10 minutes before the end of his set due to the bomb threat, the statement says. Williams made the decision not to notify attendees of the bomb scare to avoid panic and possible injury. The building was cleared without incident by the Metropolitan Police Department. The statement continued. But Cat Williams did take the protocol. He did not yell out, James, that there's a bomb in the building. And he got he was able to get everybody out of there without incident. So really sad. People pay their hard-earned money to just have a night of entertainment, and this is what happens.
Yeah, these bomb threats are and when you look at the entities and audiences it's targeting, it's disheartening.
Well, we see the HBCU threats since the year started. There's been quite a number of HBCUs that have been inundated with threats. So you're right, Paris. Look at the target audience, and it really gives you pause.
And I hope we get to the bottom of this, particularly with Cat Williams' situation. Houston is still feeling the after effects of that situation in terms of people panicking and all that type of stuff. So they made the right decision just to hold off telling people about it at that particular show. But I hope I know they'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, James is obviously referring to the Travis Scott situation last fall. Over the weekend, James and Paris, singer, actor, and reality TV personality Tracy Braxton died at the age of 50. According to her family, Tracy Braxton had been battling cancer in the esophagus. In a statement, we have come to a time where we must inform the public that after a year of privately undergoing a series of treatment for esophageal cancer, our beloved Tracy Braxton has gone on to glory. Her husband, Kevin Surratt, said in that statement. Braxton's sisters, mother, and friends were by her side when she passed. Her publicist, Thomasina Perkins, said in a statement, of course, Tracy, the sister of Tony Braxton, and that Braxton, the talented Braxton clan, thoughts go out to the Braxton family on this sad occasion. Tony Braxton has died at the age of 50.
Well,
too many of our.
No, go ahead, James.
This takes me back to Chadwick Boseman. Dying so early of something. It's just horrible to see our talented young Black entertainers just leave us so quickly when they had so much more to give.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this morning, TV personality Bevy Smith was among the many who entered the chat to blast Kim Kardashian's comments about the work ethic of working women. Kim and her famous family are gearing up to star in yet another reality series following the lavish, privileged lifestyle she and her sisters enjoy on a daily basis. Knowing the interview was set to be released during Women's History Month and one day after International Women's Day didn't stop Kim Kardashian from seemingly criticizing women and their work ethic. When asked to offer up advice to women aspiring to reach the billionaire status she has achieved, Kim had this to say. She says, I have the best advice for women in business. Get your effing butt up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. Her sister Courtney co-signed the shady remark with, that is so true. Among the critics of the tone-deaf comment was TV personality Bevy Smith, who took to Twitter on Thursday to offer some hard facts while eloquently shutting Kim down. She says, poor people across the country have been gaslit by rich people into believing that the reason they aren't rich is because they don't work hard. People working 2-3 jobs and still need public assistance get off their butts every day and work. So this is a privilege fallacy. When one person asks exactly what the Kardashians get paid to do, Smith said they sell a 1% lifestyle to the masses. I'm gonna start with you, Paris. The comments by Kim Kardashian, and of course the response by Bevy Smith and others. Your take.
So first of all, the whole purpose of Women's Day, right, is to uplift and honor women. So there probably needed to be some research on her part, and the whole movement really started out of protests out of working conditions in New York, and when you look at Pakistan, protests out of domestic violence, women's global suffrage movement. So it really has its roots in women fighting for rights, right? And those that have achieved it. So, kind of a little history on her part would have been helpful. And the whole purpose is to honor. It is to uplift women. It's not to criticize or make generalizations like that. That was gaslighting.
Yeah,
and
well,
I do agree. I mean, it's a lifestyle. And mind you, her and her sister benefit from a lot of women who purchase their products, right? So fragrances, the makeup, a lot of products that they purchase, clothing lines, they all benefit from women. What they should have said was thank you for supporting us and supporting. I mean, collectively, they represent a $5 billion empire, and their products, women, right? Children. So they've taken advantage of the spotlight they've had, and in a good business way. I don't knock their business sense as it relates to that, but they have built that empire on the backs of women.
Yeah.
Well, Stacey, let me say
James,
this.
before we move forward, we got to bring in Dr. Chavis. He's hanging out backstage. Let's introduce the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publicists Association, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. Dr. Chavis, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. I agree with what Paris just said, and James, good morning to you and Stacey. The reason why we're discussing Kim Kardashian is because they're doing what they normally do. They say things to get attention. It's about marketing. And they make millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars off of getting everybody's attention. That's what they do. And that's what Kanye does. Everybody thinks Kanye is crazy, but he's a marketing genius. And people react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that what we have to do is to make sure, by the way, this is Black Press Week, everybody. Want to celebrate our 195th year of the Black Press, and we have a big program on Thursday, March 17th, beginning at 11 o'clock a.m. But I'm here to enjoy the discussion. I think it's great to start off on Monday morning, Stacey, with the headlines and with reaction to what has been discussed in Black America and in the world throughout which we live.
Well, and going back, James, for Bevy Smith made a great point. The Kardashians, they sell a 1% lifestyle to the masses, and Paris articulated well, as Dr. Chavis said. when you heard the comments, James, and the reaction more so than the comments, is what many said they appreciate. What is it, James, that stuck out for you when Kardashian made these comments? As we said at the top, her sister co-signed it.
Oh, that those comments were so Margaret Thatcher, so Nancy Reagan, so Phyllis Schlafly type of comments. Those were anti-woman comments.
Mhm.
Not only were they were just so inaccurate. It is women, particularly women of color, that get up every morning to make sure that our country is functional, and they don't get paid enough to do that. And so, for her to even just talk about all they need to do is just get up off of that dust. That is just the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard of. She needs to get off of her duff and give some of that money to help those women in order to sustain better lifestyles, because they're sustaining our country. That's what I think of Kim Kardashian. And while some people may be enamored of this entertainment type of thing, I am not.
Well, I appreciate the stat that our producer Greer Marshall put up. If you could put it up again, I think that's so important for context there. New York top 1% income threshold, $777,126. Top 5% income threshold, $265,530. Yet New York's minimum wage is $15 per hour. So how does working hard get me to even the 5% threshold? That and that's a tweet from Bevy Smith. It's a great point, isn't it, Paris?
It is, and there's no way to get there, with the exception of having your own business. This system is really not designed. This system is designed for those who work, right, and those who own the businesses that they work for. So building wealth for us not only has to do with saving and investing, but also making money to be able to do those things. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, and she mentioned, as we highlighted earlier, that there are many countless women, particularly as James highlighted, who works harder than Black women, right? That they work their fingers to the bone, as my grandparents used to say, and they're not lazy in any sense. And Kim Kardashian will have you believe, Kim Kardashian, who inherited. First of all, inherited a lot of wealth from her dad, who passed away years ago, and then we also know how her claim to fame and began, and so to say this tone deaf, as they called it, make this tone deaf comment, it really is so out of touch. Bevy Smith really, I think she hit a grand slam in her response. There are others who are responding too, but we highlighted Bevy Smith because she was. Dr. Chavis apparently so on point, because she took it very personal as a Black woman who works hard.
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, this is also Women's History Month, and listen, we should be paying tribute to all women, particularly African American women and other women of color who helped build this country. I think that if you look at the wealth building enterprise in America, it started off of the transatlantic slave trade. Much of the wealth was not only in the South, but also in the North, who supported the transatlantic slave trade. The big banks, the insurance companies, all of them benefited. And they benefit today from the disproportionality. So, what people who make these kind of ridiculous statements, I think it was done intentionally. I don't think it was done unconsciously. I think they hadn't been in the news in a while, so they just say these things to get in the news. But suffice it to say, it is an opportunity for us to reaffirm the importance of our community. We are a community of workers, of laborers, of hard workers, and against the odds. Keep in mind, for centuries, not for years, for centuries, we were forced to work without any amount of compensation for the work. And families and communities have benefited off of that free labor, off of that slave labor, off of that terrorized labor. And that's what has given rise to wealth in America. and they don't want to now even teach about the truth in schools because they're trying to make people pretend like people parachute into wealth and not have inherited a legacy of oppression, a legacy of economic exploitation, a legacy of terrorism, a legacy of systemic racism, and a legacy of white supremacy.
Well, and Greer again put up a comment too about somebody who said they worked for Kardashian, and she says Jessica DeFino, I was an editor on the Kardashian apps in 2015 in LA, worked days and nights and weekends, could only afford groceries from the 99 cents only store, called out sick more than once because I couldn't put gas in my car to get to the office and was reprimanded for freelancing on the side. So people are calling out the hypocritical comments, and as we said, the tone deaf comments. We see a lot of this, and it's not just the Kardashians, but she brought it to the fore. Kim did, but a lot of these organizations, these individuals who have so-called made it, they use almost slave labor to get their products and done, Paris, and we know that they pay very little. We've seen reports of some celebrities going to places like India to have labor where they pay maybe $1 an hour, and they work them 18 hours a day.
And it's true. It goes back to the previous statement that I said, this whole system, this structure is not designed, even working for them, obviously, right, to build wealth. And I had an opportunity to work with a friend and to try to establish manufacturing in a country I won't name, but they were making literally $100 a month. And they didn't want us there because we wanted to offer a reasonable wage, which was outrageous. And so going back to what Dr. Chapin said, the system is designed not just here in the U.S. but globally to really not build wealth for Blacks. And this was a Black country, and so you have large entities of box corporations where they do their private label in countries, and it's built on this whole free labor. And it's not just, and it still continues today. It's just not as reported on, but it exists today. So you have large entities like your Walmarts and other entities that exist because this system of almost free labor exists. But what it also does is it keeps populations poor.
Yeah.
Right. So in order to have a certain company to offer certain pricing, you also have to have someone to produce it.
Yeah,
at a certain price. So yeah, it's the entire system. How do we fix it? I don't know.
It's a mentality. It's a mentality. I'm dating myself, Stacey, but I remember when Ronald Reagan ran for president in 1980, and he talked about a sub minimum wage. Now, I was affected by that because I was a teenager at the time. And what that meant is that you had the minimum wage, but for teenagers, you had a sub minimum wage. So in other words, if I was working at McDonald's and I had someone who was older than me, who was an adult, we were doing the same type of work, but I would get less money because I was a teenager. So there's this mentality among that class of people that we should be paid less, do more work. And the reason we don't move up through the world is because we're lazy, as Ms. Kardashian made the point. And this is a ridiculous, inaccurate mentality that needs to be confronted.
Well, one Twitter user even shared pictures of Kim at age 16 receiving a BMW from her father, demonstrating that she started out with far more wealth access than the vast majority of those she was offering business advice to. The individual wandering nomad is what they post under. It says, I love when people who were born obscenely rich, highly networked, and well-connected, and with well-connected parents pontificate about the importance of hard work. And so, again, we've dissected this criticism of Kim Kardashian, rightly so. But as Dr. Chavis noted too, a lot of this is for attention, isn't it, James?
Yes, it is for attention. And sometimes I'm wondering who the Kardashians are trying to bring into their little fold this time. And notice I said little foe because that's just how I think about the Kardashian and their clan and their television show and all that type of stuff. We need to have a serious conversation along the lines of what Dr. Chavis and Paris have been kind of inferring about income inequality in this country. We have a great gap of income inequality in this country. I am in the District of Columbia. In the District of Columbia, for a Black family, it's about $30,000 a year. But for a white family here, it's about $250,000. In Ward 8, Ward 8, which is predominantly Black, the wages are significantly lower than they are in Ward 3, which is predominantly white. So what this conversation really dovetails to, and I don't think the Kardashians meant to do this, I know she didn't mean to do it, is the income inequality and the wealth inequality that exists among the races that needs to be filled.
Well, to your point, James, another statement from a Twitter user, Kim Statements, directly promoted a damaging capitalistic narrative by suggesting that a person's work ethic directly correlates with their monetary success without acknowledging the vast number of economic and systemic factors that impacts a person's access to wealth and opportunity. So, we could talk about this all day. I think you guys have dissected it really well. Dr. Chavis has really brought the point home, and so have you, James, and Paris. There's no question that Black women, women as a whole in this country do the heavy lifting all the time. So these remarks were way out of line, as we know, as we see it, and as Bevy Smith really highlighted. And David Youngblood chimes in: had you paid the slaves wages, there would be no wealth gap. And there you go, Dr. Chavis. We'll leave it at that. We'll use the remaining minute or so to talk about Black Press Week. You alluded to the fact that on Thursday there's a special presentation going on. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Thank you. At 11 a.m. on Thursday, March 17th. Actually, March 16th marks the 195th anniversary. It was March 16th, 1827, 195 years ago, that Freedom's Journal was first published. And we're going to celebrate that this week. First, starting off with the Nnpa Fund. We're going to have a welcome from the chair, William Marshall, and then we're going to have an enshrinement. We're going to enshrine William Goff Sr., who was the distinguished publisher, iconic publisher of the Chicago Citizen newspaper group. And that'll be at 11 a.m. on Thursday. And then around 11:20 a.m., you'll hear from our chair, Karen Carter Richards, and from our executive committee and our board of directors as we celebrate Black Press Week. And we have about a 3-hour program, Stacy, Paris, and James, where we're going to highlight different tributes to the Black press of America, pre-recorded tapes. It's going to be a very interesting program, similar to what we did for the Mid-1. It was virtual. All this is virtual observance of Black Press Week, so we're very pleased. And let me just say how proud I am of the Black press. Almost a majority of our papers are owned by African-American women. My whole executive committee are African-American women. Karen Carter Richards, Janice Ware, Fran Farrell, Jackie Hamilton, and Cheryl Smith. The Afro is led by a distinguished African-American woman. The Baltimore Times is by a distinguished African-American woman. The Washington Informer by a distinguished African-American woman. So we pay tribute not only to the laborers, but to those employers who are also African-American women that are doing great jobs. I think sometimes we don't want to get diverted from supporting our own. I'll end with this. 195 years ago, on the front page of Freedom's Journal, it said, "We must plead our own cause." And for 195 years, we're still pleading our own cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And stay tuned to let it be known all week long as we observe the 195th anniversary of the Black Press. Really, all year long, there will be a lot of great things happening this year for the Black Press of America. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.